But I'm glad to be here, and I feel very excited about something. I'm not sure what it is. I am wanting to talk to you this morning about Judas. And Judas is a very special fellow. And every single one of us here in this room has our Judases. And I think Unity has given a great gift in the way it looks at Judas, so stay open for just a minute before you close down on how you've always thought of Judas. Because I think this can be a very special gift for you this morning if you take this idea within yourself and encapsulate it and take it as an approach to living. The way we've usually thought of Judas has been to look at Judas as being the devastation in one's life, the destruction in one's life. And maybe you'll have a different feeling about Judas by the time this service is over. We all have our Judases, as I said. Any one of you who has ever had the experience of having a mate walk out on you, whether you were married to that mate or they were a special lover, knows what it's like to experience a Judas. You know the devastation that you felt when you came home and they weren't there. It's kind of played out well in Kramer versus Kramer, where he walks home and she's packed her bags and left. And our usual attitude toward that is, my God, what is this all about? You know, look at all of I have done, and they still turn and beat me down or push my nose into the earth. Another way that Judas expresses itself in our life is when we experience chronic illness. And there are the chronic illnesses of the physical body, but even more the chronic illnesses of the mind that sees itself in some damaging life ongoing. And that chronic illness might be an ongoing attitude you've carried, which is that you don't love yourself, that you don't like yourself, that no matter what you do for yourself, you keep feeling, God, I can't do it, or I can't come through, or no matter how you treat yourself, you still have this little thing, am I good enough? Am I adequate enough? Will I make it? Will I fail? Will I win? Will I lose? And winning becomes so important, and succeeding becomes so important. So we carry this chronic illness inside, and that becomes the Judas. The Judas that somehow seems out to defeat me, out to rule me, out to crucify, out to show me up before the crowd, and the crowd will always choose Barabbas, and it's Judas behind this. And so we project upon Judas, we project upon the personality who's bringing something difficult into our life, that they're bad, that they're the damaging factor, that they're the ones who are out to get us, and we shoot our eyes of venom and hatred at them because what are they doing? Why are they here in our life? And many of us would love to try to whitewash them out of our life. We'd like to put them on the blackboard and say, well, they were a mistake, and I'll get over the mistake, and I won't ever make it again. And we say, well, if it weren't for them in our life, I would have this. If it weren't for those in our life, I would have this. And there Judas, poor Judas, stands on the stage as the one who damaged you, the one who took your love away, the one who damaged your life, the one who took your last bit. Another way that Judas shows itself is the person who won't give you what you want. Now we all have those in our life, and it may be an organization who won't give you what you want. It may be the business that you're working for. They won't give me enough money, so they become the Judas. It could be I who isn't giving you what you want. You know, maybe I don't look at you kindly enough, or maybe I don't pay enough attention, or maybe I don't stroke you the way you want, or treat you in the usual ministry. Maybe it's this center who is your Judas. In fact, this morning some man came up to me and he said, you know, when I think of you, you've been both my Judas and my Jesus, and he was talking to me. And people can have both of those relationships within them, and organizations can have that. And when we see the person come forth as the Judas, our usual attitude is, why are they doing that to me? Why can't they stop doing that to me? Why do they have to be like that around me? And so they receive the poison dart. The only role we've been able to give Judas in our society has been bad, destructive, hostile, damaging. And so we'll remember our mates who have left us as being, oh, thank God, that they're not around anymore. At least I got over that one. or a financial institution, or maybe a deal that we made that didn't work, where we lost thousands of dollars in it. Or maybe the Judas is excessive weight in our body, or maybe excessive thinness in our body, and so we're always responding in life by doing this to Judas, and this to Judas, and this, and this, and this. Get away, I don't want any more of you in my life. Well, maybe there's something else for Judas than that. Maybe there's another scenario for Judas. You and I are mostly instructed with a pathological approach to living. That's what we're conditioned with. If you listen to lots of religious programming, and if you listen to a lot of parental instruction, what they say is that there is a bad seed inside of you, and that if something goes out of order with you in your life, you either deserved it or you helped create it. In fact, the present going lingo is you created that evil. And you know, that even after a while gets to be something where you say, I created it. Well, what's wrong with me? Now, what I'd like you to see with that is that's pathology. That is saying that when there's something out of order with the human system, that there is something wrong with the human system. That means that Judas becomes a sin, an error, a wickedness in Jesus' life. That Judas doesn't have any other role to play in the life than sinner, wicked one. Now, what if it is possible that that only exists in our consciousness as a way to look at our lives because we are mesmerized with that way of thinking? And what if there is another way to move the tide of human consciousness, to move it from pathology into a marvelous word, a simple word called love? And when I use this simple word called love, I'm not talking about love as the elegant romantic love. I'm talking about the universal impersonal love that loves both good and bad equally, that is really working in your life, in the events of your life, and through every personality, every adventure, good or bad, right or wrong, no matter how it worked out, and that its role is functioning to exhibit love through your whole system. And that rather than Judas being the wicked one who destroys, that Judas is rather the one who serves to evolve the being, is not bad, but is an aspect of love, because there is no such thing as dark, evil, wicked in the universe. There is a synthesis of the whole that is functioning through you. So Judas's role is not to destroy. Judas's role is to nudge, to coax, to take you out of the comfort. This lady just went, maybe you're right. Sometimes. I want you to all see that. She said Judas's role is more like this. That truly has been the way that I've experienced it. And with our experiences, what we do is we react to that stroke, that movement, that push, that nudge, and we say, no, I don't want that. Well, if you were to embrace what I've embraced, I live my life like this. And hey, folks, my life is a much more joyous experience because I'm not hanging around doing this to life. I'm not bracing myself against life. Because I've been convicted, because I listen to people like me. I've been convicted to do this with life. And sometimes doing this with life includes, are you ready? This. Can you feel it? Here, let me get up here so you can see it. You see, if you accept Judas as not being the pathological, heinous universe, you accept Judas as being the activity of love, then you may welcome life. You may say yes totally to life rather than bracing yourself against every personality, every financial wallop, every discouragement with your physical body, every resistance from a personality, and you may even come to the point where you may realize that this embracing also sometimes includes this. I hope you can see that. Can you see that? In other words, just because you go like this doesn't mean you can't protect yourself. Okay? Does that come through clearly? But notice that when I do this with my hand, it isn't this. It is kind of a relaxed acceptance. The way most of us look at our life is like blind people trying to figure out an elephant. Right? You've heard the tale. So all the blind people sit around, they look at the elephant, and they say, well, the elephant is the nose. Or they say the elephant is the foot. Or the elephant is the tail. Or the elephant is the back. And what they're not seeing is the whole. Or it's the baby in the process of being born, locked in the birth canal. And we know through psychological studies that when the baby is locked in the birth canal, you know what it does? It rejects life. It becomes depressed. It resists. When what life is trying to do through Judas is to force you into awakening, so that you may become full-born, so that you may then once again go through another birth canal, which will feel like resistance. But maybe if you get so used to looking at life that you can take this attitude and you can say, yes, 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 yes to life, which will give you so much more of it. Then maybe one day you can go through the birth canal and even experience the depression and the rejection within, but have behind it this valiant, this noble, this dignified understanding. I'm saying yes to life as I move forward. Can you feel that? That's Judas, folks. That's Judas. You do not, so help me God, I'll say this as I die, you do not live in a heinous universe. You live in a universe of love. It is our conditioning that has caused us to fight it. So let's take a look at this biblical passage of Judas on this Palm Sunday time. And this actually takes place the week after after Jesus has entered Jerusalem. But Judas plays a magnificent role, and I'd like you to see the two functions that he plays, because there are actually two parts of Judas, just as there are two aspects of Judas within us. The first one I think I've shown rather clearly, and that is that Judas has a role in Jesus' life. And the role in Jesus' life is that Judas helps prepare the process of getting Jesus to the crucifixion. Without a Judas, and I want you to say this inside of yourself, without a Judas, Jesus can't be crucified. Without crucifixion, Jesus can't be resurrected. Without the Judases in your life, you cannot be crucified. And although crucifixion is agony, crucifixion leads to resurrection. Resurrection in the body, of the life within the body, of the growth within the soul, becoming more of its intention. Now, folks, believe me, I know what I'm talking about. I mean, I've had to build my life this way. You know why? Because any other way was scrutinizingly terrible. So I affirm it. And I would think everything that Jesus shows on Judas, there it is, there's the combination of Judas and Jesus, everything that Jesus shows is this blending of the awareness of the function of Judas. He doesn't get rid of him. He doesn't tackle him. He doesn't spit on him. He welcomes him. He must have understood. When he set up the whole plan, you know, he set up Easter week. He did. He planned it. He said, go into the city, get me a donkey. Tell him that you want to be a master, and I'll ride into Jerusalem. He knew he was going to be crucified. Hey, do you know? You are. You are going to be crucified. Why? Because crucifixion is the step toward more life. Does that make me a masochist? I don't think so. I think it just makes me a connoisseur of the living process and welcoming it. And this applies to you. This applies to you. You're not left out. And you're not left out. You neither, and you neither. Don't separate yourself from this thing. Jump into this thing. If you exclude yourself, you leave yourself with poison. If you enter into this, you leave yourself with ambrosia. Judas. Thanks for helping me. Can you look at a former mate? Can you look at a disease? Can you look at a mistreatment or an unkindness as a thanks, Judas, for your part of my life? Say it inside now. That's how Jesus treated it. And this may be the cleverest teaching that I've ever designed, because you know what it does? It gets me off the hook. You know what I mean by that? That means that then each person can play their role in each person's life, and we don't have to always set ourselves up to be good to each other, to be kind to each other, to hang around, to stick like glue, just so that we'll look good. Now let me take you into the second nature of Judas. And what we see in the other part of Judas is that Judas is a sneak. And Judas also sells out. And I want to talk to you about that. And I'd like to show you how Judas is a sneak. Incidentally, does this mean anything to any of you here this morning? Does this serve any purpose under the sun? Listen to this. One of the 12, who was called Judas Iscariot, went to the chief priests and said, "What will you give me if I deliver Jesus to you?" And they paid him 30 pieces of silver, and from that moment he sought an opportunity to betray Jesus. After that incident, Judas waltzes into the Last Supper, sits down at the table, and he's listening, having the bread and the wine. And as they all sat at the table, Jesus said, "Truly I say to you, one of you will betray me." And they were very sorrowful, and they began to say to him one after another, "Is it I, Lord?" And Jesus answered, "He who has dipped his hand in the dish with me will betray me. The Son of Man goes as it is written of him, but woe to that man by whom the Son of Man is betrayed." And Judas, the one who betrayed him, said, "Is it I, Master?" And Jesus said to him, "You have said so." I'm not sure how this all fits together, except to say that these are two aspects of Judas. One of the roles of Judas is his function to lead us on. The other aspect of Judas is that Judas is a sneak. And probably he has to be a sneak because the Judas within us isn't so sure of its right to exist as the Jesus is within us. So Judas kind of has to sneak. I'd like to ask you a question. Is there anybody in this room who lies? I doubt if there's a one of you who doesn't. Now you can get all persnickety about that line, but I'm digging beneath the usual thought about lie. I'm asking all of you to leave your parents where they said, "Now don't you lie," and come into the truth about our living existence and what we really share with each other, the sneak and the liar. And I'd like to have you see how the Christ within us treats the sneak and the liar. What it does is it demands that it take itself on. How many of you are using manipulation to get what you don't dare say out loud you really want? How many of you are lying to yourself about the way you're really treating your physical body? I had a very disarming experience this morning. I don't know why they always happen on Sunday mornings, but my neighbors next door, one of the people had parked their car in front of my driveway. So when I went out to get on my bike, there it was. I went next door and knocked on the door, and I walked into, I know it had to be 5 or 6 men sniffing coke. Sometimes I think about you all, and I get concerned. And I wonder if I'm probably as tough as I should be in terms of our true relationship to ourselves, and how are you treating you? And how are you lying to you? How many of you would hate to admit what you're really doing with your lives? And if you can hear me without guilt now, and if you can just take on what I'm asking you to take on, which is take on the Judas, that's what this lesson is about. But not only take on the Judas outside that punches you about, take on the Judas inside of you who lies and who sells out for 30 pieces of silver. And what do they sell out? Always they sell out the Christ. And what is the role of the Christ? The role of the Christ is the one who looks at him and says, you have said so. And I don't see Jesus punching him. He just says, you have said so. You're the one who knows the truth about your life. Own up to it, honor it, and take it on. Come on. You know, I mean that. I'm tired of liars. I'm tired of people who are afraid of me, who are afraid to talk to me, afraid to tell me the truth. And I'm tired of people who, once they do tell me the truth, don't like the truth that I had to give back, because that's a part of telling the truth, is you also get it back. What do we tell the truth about? We tell the truth to the level of our awareness of the truth that we can perceive in the moment. That's all the truth you know. Truth deepens. Truth is a process. What you tell is the truth today, tomorrow may be a lie because you've deepened and you know more. Judas cries out. He says, help me. Help me own up to my manipulation. Help me own up to my dishonesty. Help me tell my lover that I'm really not feeling so good about our relationship lately. Help me tell my kid that it really hurts when I see them coming in at 2 in the morning and I know where they've been. That's all. That's the truth. It hurts. Dare to go up to the person who won't give you what you want and say, give me what I want. Bad choice. And let's follow this through. Remember that when you do that, they may say to you, no. That's a part of the evolution of the soul. What we tend to do in telling the truth is we succumb to the outside factors. We succumb to the priests. They have power. The priests within our mind, the priests outside of our mind who say, you're not worthy, you're not good enough. And it's them we have to tell the truth. The biggies. Not your friends in the gossip session. The biggies. Face to face. Now let's bring this down to a swift denouement, to the conclusion. And on the way to the conclusion is the wonderful scene of Jesus with Judas in the Garden of Gethsemane. For as you know, Judas brings the chief priests to tie him up and take him off to be crucified. And this is the way the line goes. Judas says to those who are with him, the one I shall kiss is the man, sees him. And he comes up to Jesus at once and says, Hail, Master, and he kisses him. And Jesus says to him, Friend, why are you here? Friend. Feel it? That's all you have to do is feel it. You know what our traditionalist friends have done with us? They've taken the Judas kiss and they've stomped it out on the ground like something horrible. I don't see it that way. I see this as a masterful lesson in non-resistance. When your adversary comes to get you, let's carry out the teaching, resist not thine adversary, even into the poignant moment of one's death. And see in that the value of the death process, the death to oneself, and be willing to welcome and open up one's arms and say, friend. So when the maid comes home and says, I'm leaving, you say, yes. And then you escort them out the door. I had never thought of this till the first service, but this may be the cleverest bit of manipulation we've ever been taught in our lives. In fact, just recently, since I do attempt to practice non-resistance, even to the point of sometimes fighting, take it in, take it in, take it in. My non-resistance is not lying down. My non-resistance including not resisting my need to fight. Recently, somebody who was very important in my life came to me and said, you know, I really have some pulls that want to take me on to experiencing some other parts of my life. And I kept saying to them, well, go on. You know that I love and support you, and what's important in your life is that you pursue what's the highest and best for you, however it is. Go on. A day later, they came back and said, well, don't hurry me out that quickly. Pretty crafty Jesus was, don't you? And behind it there must not be anything you want. Only for growth, for Judas to lead to crucifixion, to resurrection. That's all. It can't be the manipulative twang or the cutesy thing. And then the climax is, did you all know that Judas went out and he killed himself? When morning came, Judas, Jesus' betrayer, saw that he was condemned and repented and brought back the 30 pieces of silver to the chief priests and the elders, saying, I've sinned betraying innocent blood. And they said, well, what's that to us? See to it yourself. We don't care. And throwing down the pieces of silver in the temple, Judas departed and he went and hanged himself. But the chief priests, taking the pieces of silver, said, it is not lawful to put them into the treasury, since they are blood money. So Judas crucifies himself. Does this once again mean that good Judas, he got what he deserved? You know how we always want to do that? My mate, they finally got it. They got walked out on too. No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think this is honoring something very beautiful when you move into the non-dualistic awareness of life. And you certainly must know that's what I share, is honoring duality, which then becomes non-dualistic. So you see, Judas goes out and Judas is crucified. And then notice, that same evening, who is crucified? Jesus. Now see, what we try to do is put a label on Jesus as good, and a label on Judas who is bad. But in some ultimate sense, do you so suppose that the one who can see the whole elephant cares? Do you suppose that there is a greater teaching going on here, which is that both the Judas, by whatever name, and the Jesus, by whatever name, both must be crucified in order for the new form in you to be resurrected as the evolution eliciting itself through you? I have warned you that it is as painful for you to hang on to the good as it is for the bad. Because of the manipulation of our society and its conditioning, we have always wanted to crucify Judas, but wanted to hang on to Jesus. Well, this is a much deeper teaching. This is a mystical teaching. And it says that for the evolution of your soul, it is necessary that Judas be sacrificed out, and for Jesus to be sacrificed out, so that that which is next might bear fruit.